Film Review, movies, music, culture, politics, society podcast, interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern on the Spot Podcast and the Film Review Life channel. Subscribe.
Hi, this is Bernadette Stannis, Thelma from Good Times, and you're watching the Film Review.
What's going on, people? We got new digs. We are playing on an all new channel called You Found the Spot Podcast Channel. You Found the Spot Podcast Channel on YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you tell all your friends that we are on. We made the announcement and let everyone know that we have officially moved into our new digs on YouTube. You need to come on over, and of course you can see all the archives, because the archives are right there on You Found the Spot Podcast Channel. Right? So today we have a jam-packed show. We're talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League. Zack Snyder's Justice League, and we're talking about one entitled Audrey. It's a documentary about the famous, the beloved Audrey Hepburn. Right? Audrey Hepburn, right? So look, we're getting started first. We're going to get started first with some memes.
I love the memes.
We're going to start with some memes. There's been a lot going on, so let's take a look at some memes, right? Let's start with this right here. Let's start with this meme right here.
Okay. Oh gosh, who's that?
All right. Are you ready? Viewer discretion is advised. If you have weak stomachs or eating on something, viewer discretion is advised. All right, look. If you ever thought of using meth, look at this progression. One woman, one life, gone. Now, if there is ever a situation where you would hear the words, I'll put this over.
Now this is a great campaign. Just say no to drugs.
That's right. If there is ever any images that would tell you to just say no, this is a perfect example of just say no. I mean, like this woman looks like the Joker. She looks like a scene from out of
Lord of the Rings.
Well, this is true. My precious.
Oh, gosh.
She looks like my precious, right? Gosh. But if there's ever an example of just say no, this is it. I mean, she goes from the picture, then it goes and it gradually breaks down. She looks like the Joker, yo. She looks like the Joker, right?
Just deteriorating.
That's right. It's just amazing. Which gets us to a meme about Jokers, right? A meme about Jokers, right? People who haven't been sick all year are willing to get sick from a shot to feel protected from something that hasn't made them sick all year. Let's repeat. People who haven't been sick all year are willing to get sick from a shot to feel protected from something that hasn't made them sick all year. Smash the share button, smash the like button, let them know that we are simulcasting on Vimeo, on You Found the Spot page on YouTube, and on our new digs on FB, and on our new digs, You Found the Spot podcast channel on YouTube. We are definitely going somewhere today, right? Look at this. People who haven't been sick or all year are willing to get sick from a shot to feel protected from something that hasn't made them sick all year. The chat lines are open. You can feel free to chat, or you can call in 213-943-3358. The chat is open, the live chat is open, and also the phone lines are open at 213-943-3358. Let's keep moving. All right. Here's one that is interesting. You know about what happened in Atlanta and the shooting spree, and they said they still haven't decided yet if it's a hate crime. You want to know why? Because they have been pushing that anti-hate bill for the Asians, trying to prop it up, making it look like it's American blacks that are the perpetrators of the hate on Asians, when these situations like this show you that that is the furthest from the truth. After he shot at least a dozen Asian Americans and killed at least 8 of them, Robert Aaron Long was arrested with no incident. They didn't shoot him even though he was armed and dangerous and had just slaughtered people all over Atlanta. They didn't beat the life out of him, which I've seen police do to nonviolent black school children, right? Now, for people who would tell you that, you know, that you are dreaming, that this is really, you are in a hallucination state, American blacks. We have seen this before. We saw this with Dylan Roof. They took him and got him some Burger King. Remember that after shooting the 9, right? Right. But here's the kicker, though. You know, they were making that law and they wanted to push it on black people. But you know what, black people, American blacks in particular, are not talking about trying to have hate against Asians, because, you know, they patronize their businesses, and the only time that there's a dust up is when the Asian shop owners start beating up American black women who are in there buying their hair or buying their beauty products, or if the Asian shop owners shoot a black girl in the back of the head, or etc., etc. That's the only time it happens. And you know what most of the black people are doing? They are forgiving them and going to church on Sunday and praying that Asian souls get to heaven. Right? The true perpetrators of Asian hate are the same people who practice hate. This guy. Now, if they don't come down with a situation where they say that this was a hate crime, then you know that they're really trying to push it towards American blacks. And like I said, American blacks aren't trying to do nothing but keep patronizing, praying, and going to church on Sunday, and praying some more and hoping that Asian souls get to heaven. What you got to say?
I mean, you know what? From what I've seen on television, there are like a lot of protesters out protesting, and they have to charge him with a hate crime because it's quite obvious that this was a hate crime.
Even if it was sexually...
that's just some excuse that they're using. I mean, come on, this guy's... It's a hate crime. I mean, you have to be filled with anger and hate to commit the heinous crime that he committed.
What I'm saying is, even if it was saying that he didn't want to be in places where there was sex involved, that's still hate.
It's still
It's still a hate crime.
Right.
Right? Let's keep moving. This is a good one. We could have told you that this was coming so many months ago.
Newsweek,
USA. Swing voters,
okay.
I guess that would be a lot of the American blacks. Swing voters who helped elect Biden say he's not doing enough to curb illegal immigration. Swing voters who helped elect Biden say he's not doing enough to curb illegal immigration. Guess what, people? If you had read his plan was all about the immigrants and the illegal immigrants and making it better for them. By June, there will be 117 million illegal immigrants in this country because they're coming across the border. You know, you don't sign an executive order demolishing something that the previous president did without first having something to replace it with.
Not if you care. I mean, if you're just trying to win an election and you're willing to just say anything, because I'm troubled by all of the children, right? So all of the children who are living under those conditions at the border. Like, a lot of them came without their parents, right? Mm-hmm. And then so we've done stories as well, you know, from films that we've reviewed, documentaries, as well as talked about just issues that we've seen in the news, to come across in the news about children who have been abused physically, sexually, all types of child abuse, right? Mm-hmm. So for them not to have any type of structure,
right,
for these babies, you know, coming from other countries, and just so he can get into office, he should have had a plan. He should have had something set up. You don't just go into office, I'm going to go just dismantle everything Donald Trump did. Everybody's welcome. Okay, so now we have all of these children at the border, basically unprotected. And then you see the workers who are working there, and they're outnumbered by the children. And then I see on the news that they have like one of the, I guess, houses that they're housing them in, and a bunch of teenagers in a housing situation alone. So who knows what's going on and which teenagers are being abused by the other. I mean, because these are people coming from different places, speaking different languages, and you don't know different cultures. You don't know the situation that they're coming from, so you don't know who's in the house abusing what child or teenager. I mean, it should be better structured. I think you have to care more. It's not just, see, this is the problem that I have with the whole jump on the bandwagon without actually having any type of platform. You know,
or any knowledge of the platform.
You know, it's jump on the bandwagon. Let's get Biden in office. Okay, let's just open the borders, but open the borders with some type of protection for the people that you're letting in. So they're all down there, together, all these little babies as well as teenagers. Who knows what's going on? I mean, it's not safe for them. They're not under safe conditions. Oh, just so you can get in office?
The same things that are happening in those countries are happening in the United States.
Right.
The person said, "Oh, my brother," they had a family, a 4-year-old, a 25-year-old father, husband, and the wife, mother. She's 21. Said that her brother got shot in the head. Well, you know, that happens every day in the United States, and people aren't running from their place to another place. There's no place to run. There's no place to hide.
It's crime all over the world.
All over the world.
You turn on the news every day, there's someone, look at what just happened in Atlanta. the meme that you just showed. You know? So, I mean, and then look at all of the crime that's going on throughout the United States. And the sex trafficking that's happening here. And the murdering that's happening here. I mean, it's just like everything is the same type of crime is happening all over the world. How about let's just work on that? How about let's work on fixing the world?
Right. Here we go. Here's the next one. Kurt Franklin called his 33-year-old son a bitch ass nigga, and then his son leaked the audio for the world to hear. Sounds like Kirk was making an accurate assessment, if you ask me. Now, what these generations that have come up after, that are born to Generation X, right, and born to Generation X offspring, what they don't realize is Generation X has pretty much been laying like in the cut, like staying out the way, like chilling, like, you know, relaxing, because, you know, Generation X actually, Generation X, born to the greatest generation and the civil rights generation. The greatest generation and the civil rights generation, Generation X was abused. Okay? I mean, let's just keep it all the way 100. Generation X and some that were born the baby boomers, we were abused. You know why? Because it wasn't about sitting and talking it out. And if something happened, most likely you were going to get your ass whooped. You might get a pan up or something. You might get anything happening. You might get punched in the arm. You might get slapped. What the generations that are born to Generation X and the succeeding generations after Generation X need to understand is, and what this 33-year-old boy, obviously, in my opinion, boy needs to understand is, Generation X has been chilling and off in the cut.
Right.
If we unleashed even half of what was done to us, all of my uncles were gruff. My father was gruff. And when I tell my wife stories about my father, and then she met him later, how nice he was, my father was gruff, yo, and he knew that he had to get a male child up, and it was either you take care of him in the street, or you're going to come home and get a whipping. You're going to get whipped in the street, and you're going to get whipped at home, so you better go handle him in the street. What these younger generations don't know, the succeeding generations don't know, is that Generation X is trying not to be what the previous generations were to them. Because we were, what was called to rear us into who we are today was actually what they call abuse today. So when he sits up there and he leaked that, most of Generation X is like, we've heard that. Yeah. We've heard that. Now, my father never called me a bitch ass nigga, but, you know, we have seen neighbors be called that by their parents, and we have used that on people coming up in our own generation out there in the streets, right? But we try to be more mellow and we stay out the way. But Generation X is beginning to wake up and it's starting to assert itself, and the younger generations need to take heed that this is nothing. What you gotta say?
I mean, you know, it's just Kirk Franklin's son is what, 33 years old?
Yeah, he's not a kid.
So it's just like, okay, so you're 33, you should be well established. I'm sure your father gave you all the tools needed to survive and to succeed. And just because you didn't do what you're supposed to, you think your father's supposed to take care of you and you 33 years old? He's supposed to spoil you like a child? Please. And how disrespectful is that to bait your father and record it and release it to the world? How childish is that? Like, how mean is that? So.
They just don't know. They just don't know. But you need to start tuning in because come April 5th, with the news show Drop Zone. Drop Zone Pods. Hashtag Drop Zone Pods. Monday through Saturday, leading into our show, hashtag TFR Podcast Live. You're going to get a piece of what Generation X, many pieces of what Generation X is really like. Smash the like button. Smash the share button. Listen.
Dionne Warwick.
I'm shocked. It's not going to be Cynthia Erivo.
Dionne Warwick, she did an excellent job selecting Tiana Taylor to play her in her biopic.
That's right. Look, did you ever see what Dionne Warwick looked like when she was younger? Before the surgery? Did you ever see what she looked like? She had some kind of degenerative bone or chin disease or something, as they said, and she had to have surgery. But you ever see what she looked like? Well, there it is. There's a comparison. Left is Miss Taylor, Tiana Taylor, and to the right is Dionne Warwick, and she picked her to play her because the woman can sing, and there is a story to tell with Dionne Warwick and Burt Bacharach.
Beautiful match. So I'm looking forward to see this film. That's just like, I think Aretha Franklin did a great job before she passed selecting Jennifer Hudson.
That's right.
Because Jennifer Hudson has the voice.
And it's coming out in August, right?
Oh, okay.
That's what I thought.
So Jennifer Hudson has a beautiful voice, right? As well as she's, aesthetically beautiful.
Aesthetically beautiful.
So Aretha Franklin did a great job when she selected Jennifer Hudson to play her.
And have you ever seen Aretha Franklin when she was younger? Like, anyone who is playing her who is not good looking, you need to say, what is really going on? Okay? What is really going on? All right, people. This next meme is interesting. I thought it was interesting. This one comes from Boyce Watkins. Politics makes strange bedfellows. We always talk that. So let's look at the stimulus, right? So the stimulus is made to keep the capitalist system running. It's not for you to put it in the bank account and save. It's for you to take it out there and spend. Right. So the stimulus is filling the poor people's bucket, and then the poor people are filling the economy flower pot. Right. Notice that the poor people's flower pot is not being touched by the stimulus. Right. Only its water pot. And then the water pot from the poor is going into the economy flower.
Good meme.
Right?
Right.
And who is growing constantly? Right. The rich. Right. That's right. Growing the flower pot. So the poor's flower pot is never being watered, so thus the poor never have a chance to grow and to develop.
So then they closed the Ford plant in Ohio, and that plant is now moving to Mexico.
That's right, because of a certain person's economic plans. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what people are looking at, right? A certain person's economic plans are reversing and going back to high taxes on corporations. Thus, the corporations are going to leave.
I mean, anybody in business, but then you have to have a business background to know this, and it's the difference between a business person and a politician. Before you dismantle anything, you have to already have some type of structure in place. Because when you don't, the house will crumble without a foundation. So now I'm thinking about, we're from Ohio, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking about all of the jobs, right? And I have friends who worked at Ford,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now there's a whole group of people who are out of jobs now. So it's just crazy. That's why I was just always like, hey, I am an independent thinker. I'm for everyone. I'm for the people.
I'm for
right?
the policies.
I'm for the
work
policies.
For the people.
I'm for policy. I'm not for a politician.
That's right. You're for the policies.
I do not worship
work.
man.
That's right. So look, just to break this in real quick, just to give you a second here.
Right.
The dopest people were born between 1970 and 1979. That's right. That is Generation X. Generation X between 1970 and 1979. Just an end of story. That's right. We just wanted to give you just a quick acknowledgement of that before we move on. We have two more means, then we're going to get into our first review, which is Zack Snyder's
Justice League.
That's right. Let me get your phone for you.
Thank you.
All right, so people, here's the first to last meme.
Okay.
It's been a year since most of you became afraid of dying.
Okay.
Let me say that again. It's been a year since most of you became afraid of dying, but in reality, you wasted a year being afraid of living. But in reality, you wasted a year being afraid of living. Amazing. It's just amazing. Right? Amazing. And the last meme of the night. I think this is just great. It's just a great meme right here. This is great. Are you ready? A group of broke people chilling together discussing other people. Right. Now that is what I call a non-profit organization. A group of broke people, chilling together discussing other people, chilling together discussing other people. Now that is what I call a non-profit organization. That is a beautiful meme.
That is, because people, you have to just stop talking and put in the work.
Have to put in the work.
You have to put in the work.
You know how much work it takes to pull off everything that we do here at the spot? I mean, it's people, we make it look easy. Right. But in all actuality, all right, people. So the first review of the night, right? The first review of the night is Zack Snyder's Justice League. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Wow. The husband and wife team discussed the epic, which is Zack Snyder's Justice League. Is it not one of the best, if not the best, superhero films made? What is?
Okay, so
this is what WW84 needed to save the franchise. We break the film down, what makes it worth watching and more.
Okay, so the Justice League that we saw right in the theater,
Right.
with Josh Whedon.
Josh Whedon.
Okay, do you remember what happened to me when we went to see it in the theater? I fell asleep.
That's right.
I was bored.
Now, see, now Josh Whedon had just come off of doing. He was a Marvel director that DC that Warner Brothers, who had the Justice League. Now Disney has it, but who had the Justice League? They went and got him. Zack Snyder had to step away because his daughter, unfortunately, committed suicide. And so he had to step away from doing the Justice League, right? So they bring this Whedon guy in, right? And so he has his Justice League, and let's just say that can I say that it was compared? It was trash.
Let me jump in for 1 second and say something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so according to...
Well, let's go through the cast.
Okay, before we get to the cast, right, Forbes magazine, right, they interviewed Roy Fisher.
Right.
And according to
who is
Roy Fisher, he plays Cyborg in the Justice League.
So,
okay,
Roy
so
Fisher,
cast,
the black character...
who plays Cyborg.
Right. You seen Zack Snyder's version of the Justice League.
But before we get to that,
I know I'm trying to set it up for you.
Okay. Well, the crew had nothing to do with Josh Whedon.
I know. I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm saying that Zack Snyder. You've seen Zack Snyder's version,
right?
But if you even remember Whedon's version from 17,
okay.
I mean, it's a miracle that you even remember. It's like night and day.
Right.
And so what was happening? Remember we talked about why it took so long for them over at Marvel to bring Black Panther out. Right. It's best-selling Marvel movie of all time. Right? They seem to keep pushing it back because they wanted to prove that one of the Caucasian movies, one of the Caucasian superheroes could make as much money as Panther did, right?
Right.
And they kept pushing it back and they kept pushing it back. It seemed like when Stan Lee died, it just appears this way. When Stan Lee died, Marvel was taken over because there was a company change. And Marvel was taken over by what I'm only looking at what I'm looking at, by white supremacists. It was because Stan Lee was an open type of guy. You see, we're in a white supremacy system, but not all white people practice white supremacy. You know, there's different degrees to what some white people are, right? Stan Lee was one who believed in equality, equity and equality for all people, right? It seemed that after he died, this changed, right? And so this is where we are. So looking at where this Whedon guy comes from, it is not unbelievable. It's very believable what Fisher has to say about how he treated cast members on the set. So go ahead.
Let's see. Well, the cast and crew were told that Zack Snyder had handpicked Josh to finish the film for him, which wasn't true. So, you know, that's just an example of the situation during that period when Snyder left the film. And so, yeah.
Keep going. What did Fisher have to say?
Well,
because this definitely gives credence to what we were looking at and just surmising. But this brings it into more clearer focus, and then you can make the decision.
Well, you know what? After we saw the film, right?
Now I'm talking about how Marvel was acting, because he's a Marvel director.
No, what I'm saying is after we saw the Justice League the other night, Zack Snyder's.
Okay.
Everything makes sense now.
Okay.
You know? So what Ray Fisher was saying and what you and other people were saying about the environment.
Mm-hmm.
And so according to the Newswire, at news.avclub.com, replacement director Josh Whedon, according to Ray Fisher, because Ray Fisher was interviewed.
The cyborg. He played the cyborg.
He plays the cyborg, October 2020, right? So he said that Josh Whedon was gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable in his treatment of his cast and crew. Now again, the crew had been told that Josh Whedon was handpicked to finish the film. Well, we later find out that that wasn't true.
Mm-hmm.
So just so many Fisher recently, he gave an interview also to Forbes.
Mm-hmm.
And he went into a little bit more detail in his Forbes interview. It said he outlined at least some of his issues with the behavior of Josh Whedon, producer Jeff Johns, and others who worked on the film, including allegations that the erasure of people of color from the 2017 theatrical version of the Justice League was neither an accident nor coincidence. Right? So he said that Ray Fisher, he stated performances from multiple actors of color, including Hong Kai, who played Ryan Choi, John Morton, who played the cyborg's father, Karen Bryson and Kersey Clemens, whose parts as Cyborg's mother, and Iris West were fully cut.
Mm.
As noted in Forbes, all these parts are set to be restored by Zack Snyder's Justice League. So we saw all of these parts restored.
And it makes more sense, right?
Yeah.
The Josh Whedon guy,
Right.
you can only say, just by observation, my opinion, you can only look at it and say that he was practicing white supremacy.
But
Keep going.
Fisher, okay, Ray Fisher, he also, this is the Forbes article, Fisher also says that he was later made aware of blatantly racist conversations that occurred before Justice League was reshot, right? Reshot by Josh Whedon. Apparently centered largely on Jeffrey Johns, John Berg, and current Warner Brothers Picture Group chairman Toby Emmerich, or Emmerich. Ray says, I realized that the notes I ended up getting from Jeffrey Johns during reshoots were just a coded version of the racist things he was saying with behind closed doors with other executives. So not only was Ray Fisher threatened in regards to his career when he spoke up, another cast member was also threatened in regards to their career for speaking up as well. Right? So these threats were made by producer Jeffrey Johns to Ray Fisher. And this is really disappointing. You know, it's just sad that people can't just keep their personal feelings aside when working on the project.
But they brought him in because they know what direction Marvel is moving in. They're moving away from Stan Lee, which means that as Marvel moves away from Stan Lee.
Okay.
Then American blacks and the whole black audience globally should be moving away from Marvel. If DC has more people like Zack Snyder, and black producers, because remember when Marvel, when the switch started to happen, remember they wanted to take Panther away from Ryan Coogler.
Right.
They wanted to take it away from him, and they were saying Chadwick said that if he wasn't writing and directing, he wasn't playing in it. Right. So they automatically slow Black Panther down.
Right.
It's to slow it down to keep you in a state of constant aggravation. That's what white supremacy is, right? And when you understand what the moves are, so these people who were the executives over at Warner Brothers, they saw the cut on Zack's film. They saw the cut on Zack's version of the film. And they said, well, he's giving stardom to these black stars. The story is really centering around Cyborg.
And as I read, he cut out Asian actors as well. So it's just like Zack Snyder's film represents the world, right?
That's right.
So it's multicultural.
That's right.
Like in the real world.
Right.
But for some reason, the Josh Whedon version, they just didn't want what reflects the real world. But the thing about it is I found that I stayed awake. Why? Because it was full of action. And the Wonder Woman that I saw in this version kicking ass, I would have liked to see. I'd like to have seen that in the last Wonder Woman film.
WW84. I mean, maybe that would have saved the franchise.
It would have.
If she had been kicking butt like she was kicking butt in this. Now, it's crazy, yo. I mean, it's really crazy. It's crazy that we have to start off like this talking about this film, but this is what you see. So when you watch the one from 17, which was just trash, there's a scene where Superman comes back to life and he lands there and he starts to read all of the different superheroes and he sees them as a threat and he goes out to destroy them, right? Mm-hmm. There's a scene where Batman comes, right? Now, it's sitting there. Now, this is in the Whedon version, right? Which really doesn't make any sense, right? And the Zack Snyder version, it makes so much more sense. He throws Batman into the police car, and then he comes, he says that you tried to kill me. And he takes his bare foot and he's pushing on Batman and, basically to say that he's going to kill him. And then, if Superman hits you, if you don't have any superpowers, because Batman don't have no superpowers, if Superman hit him or he was crushing him, Batman will be dead. So that really didn't make any sense, and Josh Whedon really didn't have, in my opinion, any kind of creativity. But the way that it's explained, you don't have that in the Zack Snyder version, right? So we had to go through all that, right? Because this film right here, the 2021 version of Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League, is a tour de force.
I mean, it's an excellent film. Now, this is before I read any articles regarding like the Ray Fisher situation and how the cast was badly treated, right? This is before I knew all about this. This is like while we were actually watching the film, I looked over to you and I said, why would they go and pick someone from Marvel when this film is way better than the last two Avenger films that I've seen? It's better than any of the Avenger films that I've seen. So how do you go like backwards?
Not as equal to Panther, but better than any of those.
Right,
I'm just saying. Panther stands out.
Ryan Coogler.
That's right. So Panther stands out.
Right.
And then everybody, all the other films, they were basically the say no, say no's and all that. That was garbage. Right. Garbage.
So like this film, like I said, I fell asleep in the theater. So, you know.
The original one. 2017. This
one, I was like wide awake. It was just action nonstop. And not just action, right? The dialogue was great. It was interesting. It kept me awake. I was engaged.
They had emoting.
They were emoting, great acting. Like Wonder Woman was not to be messed with. She was like kicking ass, as well as all of the other characters, and it just made sense.
And in the middle of the full story of the Justice League was introduced Cyborg and his full backstory, because you know Wonder Woman's backstory.
Right.
You know Batman's backstory. Right. You know Superman's backstory. You know Aquaman's backstory. Right? So you're introduced to Cyborg. Right? And you get his backstory. You know, Papa Pope.
Okay, yeah.
He's always into something. You know, he was the one who first put Skynet online in the Terminator films.
Papa Pope.
That's right. And he was the one. What's his actual name?
Joe Morton.
That's right. And he was the one who tried to end Skynet. In the first one.
Right.
So he's always into something.
Right. Olivia's father.
Always into something.
On Scandal.
That's right. Working at the Smithsonian Institute.
Right.
Doing much of like what he's doing in this film, right?
Right.
Except for he's a scientist developing new technologies and using ancient technologies to move the society forward. And he stumbles across a box. And the box enables him to save his son. And it is a story about a family, the disjointedness of father and son relationship, and how in the end, through sacrifice, everything is made right. And so it's a beautiful piece.
It is.
Right within there, and you're introduced. So really, Cyborg is actually the star of this piece, and Josh Whedon wiped all of that out and made him a secondary role, like a step and fetch it, right? Which lets you know that is, in my opinion, that is white supremacist. Now, so what makes this movie superior? What makes this a superior superhero film? You know, up there with Panther. And I would say up there with Shazam. Because I thought Shazam was going to be campy, but it was actually really, really good.
Suicide Squad.
Really, really good. What's all in common? Multicultural themes. The cinematography. Cinematography on this is a 10.
Yeah.
It is, you know, the movement of the camera, the use of CGI techniques.
Yes, beautiful.
I mean, it's seamless. You can't catch anything in it. The plot line. The plot line through line. Introducing you to all of the characters again. Now, this is where Zack Snyder changes the story, because remember in Batman versus Superman, Batman kills Superman. But at the beginning of this, they give you an alternative story at the beginning where Batman accidentally hit Superman trying to kill a villain. And he accidentally hit Superman. And so they move on from there, right? So, I mean, it's really interesting how they retell this story because it wouldn't have made any sense.
Right.
I would have been trying to kill you too if you had tried to kill me and I came back to life.
Right.
Right? Why would you bring me back to life? Well, you know I'm going to kill you as soon as I get a chance. But anyway, look.
Ohio's own Superman.
That's right. So, the through line storyline, the change up, and then reintroducing you to all the characters, and then within the ensemble cast, introducing you to Cyborg and his backstory. That's a 10. Right? Character development. Right? Introducing you to the characters and then making them arc in this film, because some were reluctant, others were with it, and then how they arc in the film. The character arc, which I'm going to get to next. Character arc and the character development and character arc, both of those are 10 because the characters arc at the right time. Certain superhero comes back at the right time, and it's a conclusion that would have been worth the money in the theater. Right. The wardrobe, beautifully done. You see 6 different Superman outfits.
Yeah, you do.
Right?
That was nice. That scene was nice.
Right? Then you're introduced to Flash. Right? Not so much of the extent that you were introduced to Cyborg with the backstory, but you get enough of his story of where he is as an adult, and you know that his father is somewhere that he's trying to figure out how to get his father liberated. I'll say that. That's
and he wants his father to be proud of him.
That's right, he does. And so that's a 10. Everything about this film is a 10. The pacing.
Yes,
the pacing
which is important.
Of the film.
It's important not to put people to sleep when they're watching the film.
It's like it was enough sentiment, enough romance. Like in the Joss Whedon version, they take you when Superman flies off. Then it takes you to a whole scene where he's sitting there in the cornfield, and they stay with that forever. But what happens in Zack Snyder's version is it goes right back to the action. And you're right back at Papa Pope. Yeah.
I mean, like, that's one of the problems that I had with the last Wonder Woman film. Like, if I want to see romance, I will watch a romance film. I want to see action.
They've been trying to weave that in because Panther was so well paced. It had the romantic aspect.
Yeah, but they didn't drag it out.
But they had the romantic aspect between he and Nyong'o's character. Right. And they had the playfulness of him at being a king with his mom. And, you know what I mean? And then they had time to show you his kingly duties of fighting it out. And then it had time to show you, and most definitely all the time, show you he as Black Panther. The pacing, he and his sister.
I love that
playful relationship between he and his sister was just, the pacing and the timing on that was just perfect. And Marvel has been trying to emulate that. And DC was trying to emulate that with Wonder Woman, which may have cost that woman being in the franchise.
Where is the Spider-Man cartoon, Miles Morales? Like, that did really well in the theater.
Should have been right back.
Won an Oscar award.
See, usually when stuff takes over, you move everything else back, and you move to bring that out quickly. You bring that out in the next 2 years. You bring the next installment out on these things that are successes.
When Stan Lee passed away, when he died, it just seemed everything just went downhill. Like, the stupid decisions seem to they're being made.
They're being made because they choose to practice white supremacy. Just my opinion, just looking at it. But this is a DC film, Justice League.
Great film.
Justice League. So what would you give Justice League?
Definitely a 10. Number one, I stayed awake from beginning to end, for everything you said, like the action, like the CGI, right? The acting, the pacing, of course the costumes, right? I just love the acting, like the molding. It was the one scene, right, where it's just like the facial features just told it all. The one scene where
Cyborg's father.
No, not that one.
Okay.
The one with is it lightning? Flash lightning?
Flash. Oh, yes.
When he's running towards.
When he's speeding fast and he sees that Superman can see him, and Superman is tracking him, and he's like, "Oh my God!"
That was a great scene.
He's like, this is my hero, and he sees me.
He may potentially
just smash me out of
right.
existence. Like, but Superman has all their powers and more. I mean, it's just
right.
like incredible, right?
Yeah.
So you give it a, what would you give
Definitely a 10.
So
definitely.
I give it, for everything that we talked about,
right.
for Zack Snyder
yeah.
bringing it from out of the white supremacy abyss
right.
and bringing it and putting it, restoring it
right.
back to its the glory that it would have been under him if his daughter unfortunately hadn't committed suicide, hadn't passed on.
Right. Because
right?
Zack Snyder, I mean, his film, like, he had everyone. He had, it doesn't matter, he had Caucasians, he had Black, Asians, Latinos, it was just a beautiful film, and everyone working together,
mm-hmm.
working to put together this beautiful piece of art.
That's right.
And that's what art is.
That's right.
Right? You go
that's
to
right.
the museum, right? And we look at these beautiful paintings and statues, and it's just about beauty and just the combination of just everything meshing well together. That's what it's about.
Right. So I give it a 10.
Right.
That's right. So I give Justice League a 10. So yeah. Let's move it right along to the next. Moving right along to the next film. The next film that we have up is Audrey.
My favorite.
Came out in 2020. This is a documentary about Audrey Hepburn. That's right, people. Audrey Hepburn.
On Netflix.
On Netflix.
Justice League, that was what, HBO Max.
HBO Max. Audrey Hepburn. Now, everyone knows Audrey Hepburn. She came into the movies Blazing.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Blazing with Roman Holiday in
right.
the 1950s, her and Gregory Peck. Right. And she never looked back, but then soon she decided to leave Hollywood. Right? To embark on a whole nother life experience, right? So this documentary covers all that, and it fills in points that the person who is a fan or a person who watches her films might not have known, right? To know where she comes from and what her background is and where she comes from. This goes to show you that America has always let in immigrants. You know, not to say, this is just say part of American black politics. They've always let in immigrants. And they had a perfectly good people here that could have been in film and been seen as, you know, as the heroes in film, but they always let in immigrants. Which, you know, that's their prerogative to do so. But so Audrey Hepburn, immigrant, comes in and she storms Hollywood. And she has many different films, but then one of your favorites. Breakfast at Tiffany's. Her and George Papard.
As well as with Sabrina and but you know what? She, you know, thank God that she came to America, right? Do you remember that skit with Dave Chappelle he had on his show? When he would like, okay, we're going to switch out this person to this group and that person out to this group, right?
Oh, yeah.
I was
race
glad.
trade.
Yes, race trades, right? And so I would gladly take in Audrey Hepburn, and we can switch out some of these people who were born and raised in America for her, right?
Some of the ones that scaled the wall on June 6th.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Storming the Capitol, please. Just
but tell them why you like.
Well, first of all, she was born May 4th, which is a beautiful day, right? May 4th. But besides like that, you know, I mean, not only was she a great actor, right, or actress, right? We learned that she started off as a dancer, right?
Ballet dancer.
Ballet dancer. She's a ballerina.
When you say you start off as a dancer, people be thinking about the stripper.
Right. Oh, no. She was graceful. Ballet dancer. Also, she had the stature of a model as well. So I think that's really why people also liked seeing her in film, like her acting, the grace, the movement, the way the materials moved on her body. But what I found interesting is how she went to Givenchy, right? Mm-hmm. And she asked him to, because he was expecting, was it Katharine Hepburn?
Katharine Hepburn, yeah.
So when he saw her walk in the door, he was a little disappointed. But, you know, as you'll learn in watching the documentary, they had dinner and he immediately fell in love with her personality. And from there, they began working together.
Designing those different
beautiful
couture,
couture
gowns that she wore in
all of her films, right? And I loved like her personality from what we learned during Breakfast at Tiffany's. Mm-hmm. That one scene, the Moon River. Mm-hmm. She stood up for that scene, which is a very popular scene. Yeah, powerful scene.
She actually sings Moon River.
Right, actually singing Moon River, playing the guitar.
Executives after the screening, after the rush screening, they were like, and that song, that definitely has to be cut. And she stood up and said, "Over my dead body."
Right, you know.
And it stayed in.
Right? So her Towards the bull horns went up, and she said, "You will not be removing that scene from this film." So I love also that she loved her family, mm-hmm. right? She loved her family. She loved people, period. She was a great humanitarian. Mm-hmm. Up until the day she died, mm-hmm. right? She was working with trying to relieve the world of hunger, feeding children, right? She worked for UNICEF.
That's right.
She worked with UNICEF, and it burdened her heart. She just could not understand why, with so much wealth, right, throughout the world, that children were actually starving.
In particular, the dark-skinned nations.
Yeah, she said she couldn't understand that, they said. It was just crazy to her.
So especially when it wasn't in wartime.
Right, it wasn't during wartime, because she grew up during wartime.
And she was in the famine.
And she was in the famine. And she, like she said, she knows what it's like to be hungry as a child. Mm-hmm. And so this is just a beautiful documentary. I knew a lot about her because just like following her from just watching all of her films, right? And just seeing her, you know, as kids, you know, we would see her on television working with UNICEF, right? So, but just learning more about her just makes you're just more, ingratiated more? Right.
She ingratiates you more through the knowledge that you learn about her. She ingratiates herself.
Because you already...
Or the creators ingratiate
they did
her
a great
to
job.
you more. Right.
Yeah, I mean, because she's already not just an icon. Like they said, someone said in the documentary, I can't remember, was it Givenchy? But they said that she was just special, beautiful inside as well as out, which is very important, mm-hmm. right? You see that lacking sometimes. And a lot of people.
Because everyone would meet her and say, "Is she really a movie star?"
Right.
Because she didn't act like a movie star.
Right. Right.
So this documentary gives you all that and gives you even more, and we don't want to even tell you, you know, everything, but we're going to go through, breaking it down. Yeah. Okay, cutting in between the modern day scenes, movie clips, and the audio from back in the day, to scenes from back in the day, like home movies and all that,
Right.
that's a 10.
Yeah.
The sound quality on this film is fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
Introducing you to Audrey Hepburn
Right.
as a young 6-year-old,
Yeah.
all the way up,
Yeah.
arcing her into who she became,
Right.
that's a 10.
Yeah.
Introducing you to her eldest son,
Right.
who, you know, is the voice who fills in a lot of the gaps,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And he taking on a responsibility
Right.
to be part of this. That's a 10.
Yeah. His daughter, her granddaughter.
Yeah, and his granddaughter. I mean, her granddaughter.
Right.
His daughter.
Right.
That's a 10.
Right.
It's a documentary that
Right.
you need to watch,
Right.
right? That you will be thoroughly
Right.
not only entertained, but you will be informed, and you will see a lot of nice clothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's always nice to look at nice clothing.
Right.
You know what I mean. So, what would you give Audrey?
Definitely, come on now. Definitely a 10. What I loved is learning more behind the scenes of, you know, the different films like Roman Holiday and with My Fair Lady. And not only that, we learned about other films she was
doing
in
before.
Before, she was in like tons of other movies, right?
Mhm.
So I learned more about that, you know, other work that she had did. So it was very informative. Just well done. And like you said, the couture, like the clothing, just beautiful. I mean, so it's like a lot of us, when we watch these different award shows today, whether it's the Oscars or the Golden Globe or NAACP awards or BET awards, or, you know, we watch for the, you know, beautiful clothing, and it's just like, just the couture. I mean, you could just tell that. And then Javon, they talk about her relationship, the friendship, right, that she has with her designer. Mm-hmm. And you can tell, because you can tell he put a lot of love in the outfits that he created for her. So just excellent documentary. And there's a lot more that we learned that we're not even discussing now, because you have to watch the documentary.
You have to watch it. It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
So for Audrey is a 10. Well, people, there we are. We have come to an end of another hashtag TFR Podcast Live. That's the film review, movies, music, culture, politics, society podcast. That's myself and my wife. We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy D.
I'm Tracy.
And we review movies, music, culture, politics, society on a podcast that we call hashtag TFR Podcast Live. And we will see you next week at 3 p. Pacific, 6 p. Eastern on another episode of hashtag TFR Podcast Live.
The Film Review, movies, music, culture, politics, society podcast, interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern on the Spot Podcast and the Film Review Life channel. Subscribe.
Hi, this is Bernadette Stannis, Thelma from Good Times, and you're watching The Film Review.